So today we have two very amazing personalities joining us here today. So first off, both of them are alumni of MIT. So I'll first introduce Mrs. Erandi Ganepola, a senior software engineer at WSO2. And next off, we have Mr. Bilal Hassan, senior business analyst at London Stock Exchange Groups. So basically, our topic is management or IT. So just to give some context to everyone listening right now, so Erandiaka did IT and now he's a software engineer, and Bella did management and now he is a business analyst. So I'll start off with a few general questions. The first one I want to ask is, how important is IT to a management student? So that question goes to you, Bella.
First of all, a correction there. Like I actually did do management per se.
Yeah, exactly.
So to just elaborate on that fact, to see like when we were doing like product Naki Api. So when we were doing, we had that option of either leaving in 3 years or going on to do a specialization and stay for 4 years. So I only did a general degree for 3 years. So it's pretty much, I did an MIT degree, I would say, management and IT. But I think why you term me as a management personality is because I'm in the industry as a business analyst, mainly, which is related to the management side. But coming back to answering your question, how important IT is to a management student. Sorry if my answer is a bit long, but we need to sometimes figure this out very right? Okay. We say management or IT, but we have to understand this term management is very broad. Like in terms of university parlance, when we say management, what we are referring to is, are we doing a career in the management path in terms of a traditional path like finance, finance, HR, marketing? Those what we really mean by management. But if you look at the industry, the term management has a different context. So management is like a strategic role in any industry. Like it can be in the IT industry, can be in a traditional industry. So management is a strategic role. But what we are referring to as management is like a career path what we take. So in that context, so if I am to say how important IT is for a person who is not planning to go in the IT industry in terms of to pursue a career in development or QA or whatever in the IT industry, but planning to go into like finance, HR, or marketing, how important it is, it's very, very important. Especially the fact that like now we are in, I mean, we know, right? We have passed through eras, the Galyuge, now we are in like the technology era. Like everything is like technology. I mean, see, like COVID has made us stay inside the house, but still we are having this session because of technology. It's very, very important for the simple fact. I mean, this explains for anyone for that matter, technology is important. But how much of IT knowledge in terms of what we learn in terms of coding and all that, how much of it is important for a management student? To answer that, I would say, like let's say you know your career path. You say, okay, I'm going to be a finance person. I know what my path is. I know what exactly to do in finance. If you have that covered, do you really want to know like everything in coding? Not really. But if you know coding, is it an advantage? Definitely, right? I mean, knowing something more than someone else is always an advantage. So I would say knowing technology and keeping abreast with technology for anyone for that matter is very important. But do you need to know nitty-gritties of coding and all those stuff? Not necessarily, but if you know, it's definitely an advantage. I mean, not in terms of your work, but even you can start something on your own. So that's very important, I would say.
Going back to the same question to you, Erandiake, so if you flip the question, right? So how important is management to an IT person?
Yeah, Shamal. So I will start from like what we had in past. So when I was in university, we had this model. We selected our paths from third year onwards. So now I think we get the chance to select paths from second year, which is better. So in my context, we got to learn about these management modules and those things for like 2 years, which is a considerable time. And the thing was, those days, I considered this as this is something like completing Zima foundation level. That is what I felt those days. So it is something bit different. When I moved to industry, one thing I noticed in industry is like this all these engineering professionals, like those are like middle-aged one, late 30s and early 40s, these type of
Okay.
engineers, they tend, yeah, they tend to
The
do
whole
like
team is about old people today. Okay, fine. That's perfectly fine.
no, right, no, that is what I saw. They tend to do this complete SEMA things and tend to, like, engage in MBA, complete MBAs, things like that. So what is I noticed here is it is okay to have in-depth technical knowledge, only in-depth technical knowledge, as long as you run as an individual and perform as an individual. But one day, once when you perform very well, you will be shifted to a leadership role, right? Leadership role in the sense it can be a team lead or director of engineering or VP of engineering. Those roles are all leadership roles. So at that point, definitely you have to work with your subordinates, you have to work with the team, customers, and you have to analyze business requirements, you have to search for business patterns, and you have to grab those. Those are your like kind of responsibilities you get to engage in. So I think, so I prefer this as this is not a kind of a short-term thing. Having a management knowledge, I would say management insights or the practical side in an IT professional. You can't see instant results, but when you climb into a career ladder, this is something definitely you should have. If you don't get this from your degree, at least you have to complete SEMA kind of things, MBAs, and get that. So that's the nature. So when coming back to our department, I think it is a good formulation we have. And the other thing is the practical side we have. Then usually our department pushes us to do these all those activities and incorporate with industry those things. So I think those things in long term they all help. So yes, I think being an MIT and entering to the industry from first year itself in the industry, I had those attributes, and I hope in future as well in my career ladder, definitely these management aspects will help me.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's so true. I think you mean by activities, do you mean PPT? Because we love PPT, right? So
Yeah, that is one
I
thing.
think you
But
mean PPT, yeah?
PPT plus, but
Okay.
anyway, you get the chance to build your professionalism and all those things.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's a good point. So you might be a technical person, right? You might be a hardcore coder, but as you
Yeah.
said, you need to have those soft skills. You need to be able to have leadership positions and guide your teams in your organization. So that's very important. So coming back to Bialaya,
Shamal,
you
sorry,
said that okay, management. Yeah, yeah, sure,
Shamal,
sure.
just to
Go
add
ahead.
on what Erandi touched upon, she touched upon a
Exactly.
very important and interesting side, I would say. So, like I said, the management, the context in the industry is a different context. It's not
Yeah.
about the avenue that you take. So, it's exactly what Erandi touched upon. So, you can be a technical person. So, you can start off as a technical person, as a developer. Your career will be that. But the higher you go, when you manage people, yes, your soft skills matter, your leadership matter. But I think what Erandi touched upon is when you go high, I mean, as a VP engineer or someone, you should make sure your budgets are hit. You hit your revenue targets. So you
Yeah.
should know your finances as well. Hence why people tend to do SEMA, MBA, and even if you look at the technical MBAs that you have in Sri Lanka for that matter, you have a business module as well where they teach finance, they cover those aspects. So it's
Yeah,
very
even the
important.
legal side, right? Yeah.
Correct, very correct. The higher you go, the management aspects not into hardcore like how to harada barada එහෙම කරන්න නෙමෙයි. You should know your finances as to know like you are hitting the targets and all those. It's very important, very interesting subject that Erandi touched upon, I would say.
Thank you so much. Coming on to that point, so you said that management was a very broad subject, right? So you have everything technical stuff from like finance and analytics and all of those things to management and people skills. So when it comes to the competition, right? When it comes to the competition, because as you know that our MIT degree program or management degree program, it's not pure management, right? It's not like you expect the management to be in Japura or Colombo. It's different, right? So when it comes to the competition an undergraduate might face when you go to the industry, let's say you specialize in management, you did let's say business systems engineering or supply chain management. What when it comes to the competition? So how can we face the competition when you have to compete with people who have pure management degrees? How can you give us an idea about that in the industry?
that I would say a very good question. Definitely there is competition, and not
Exactly.
only for management, even for the IT aspect of
Yeah.
our degree, I would say compared to a pure IT aspect, a degree someone would come with from Morato or Columbus CS, there is competition, right? But I would say our degree's unique selling point is BB management and IT students. So now, since you asked for management students, I would say we have a unique selling point in that aspect. We don't have to sell ourselves as management students. Instead, we should sell ourselves as management and IT students. Like I said, now the world is going towards a technology era. I mean, whatever industry you take, whatever, even the delivery, I mean, like we have delivery people, now it's tech. Like every industry has some sort of tech involved, right? And it's only increasing and not decreasing. So we are going as pure management as opposed to we going and say, hey, look, I know the management part of it, and I also am an IT part. I have an IT part. So that's a unique selling point. So in terms of selling, we can sell in that way. But in terms of knowledge, what we get as opposed to what a pure management degree student gets and what we get, definitely we get somewhat less than what they cover because our degree is broad in terms of management and IT. So if you want to go to a pure finance or a marketing or HR role, I would definitely say, I mean, I mean, you should have some other professional qualifications which brushes up your knowledge in those streams also, because otherwise in the demand those people actually learn a lot of stuff in terms of finance if it's a finance degree, and they specialize in finance marketing like that, so they have in-depth knowledge. But for us, it's just that for us we are being shown the different paths. Like we come to the university and we are shown මෙහෙම finance කියලා path එකක් තියෙනවා, HR කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා, marketing is there. We are shown the path and we are just taken like උඩින් පෙන්නලා තියෙන drone making වගේ පෙන්නලා තියෙනවා. So we don't have that in-depth knowledge. So to get that, if you want to go into finance, maybe a CIMA, maybe an ACCA, maybe a chartered accounting, you have to have that, right? Marketing, and there are other degrees like SIM, SLIM, all those stuff. HR has that PQHRM, all those professional qualifications. So it's best if you can get one of those if you are really interested into getting into one of these specific fields. If you don't have, will it be the end of the world? Not really, right? But definitely having these will be an advantage. But what people need to understand is that we are management and IT students. We should not only go and say I have done ACCA and a degree. I have say I have an ACCA and my degree is management and IT, and you have to sell your degree in terms of IT as well if you're a management student. As opposed to an IT student go and say I have this IT knowledge, I also have this management knowledge. You have to sell the other thing as well. So it's very important to sell both rather than sell one thing, because we definitely have a lot of competition from the others. So sell both, and unique selling point should be management and IT.
Plus IT. Coming back to you, Arandyaki, so you are an IT specialized person. So when it comes to the IT field or software engineering field, what do you think is the most crucial factor? Because we all know that when it comes to fields that change dramatically, IT is on the top, right? So for example, a few years ago, Java was hot. Now it's Python because of machine learning and stuff, right? A few years ago, JavaScript was just a small language. Now it's like Node.js, Dino, it's everywhere. So what do you think is the most important attribute for a person who is going to pursue a degree in IT or a specialization in IT when it comes to that person getting a high paying job in the industry? Like what is the main attribute that they should develop right now so to be successful in the industry in the future?
So Jamal, the thing is, as you already said, this is a very constantly changing field, right?
Exactly.
So we can't this is the nature of I would say it's that is not non-government universities do this, like in their curriculum, like in their modules, they always try to teach all the newest technologies to students. But what we have in government university most of the times, what I have seen, is we try to cover basics and concepts. So because our students are smart enough, and that would be enough knowing the concepts and basics, because basics kind of things will not change. Like when you have those things, you can catch up things. Like when I entered to the university, what I experienced is I didn't get the chance to I actually apply the things I learned in the university. Like we have every day we have a challenging task. We have to search and learn and do that task.
Exactly.
So I would say the key attribute you should have is eagerness. Eagerness, that means nowadays we, with the modern terminology, we call it like passion.
Yeah,
If you have passion towards something, you should commit, you like by default you will be committed to that task and you will learn it and do it yourself, because once you are achieved that thing you will be happy because that is your passion. So that would be the, that eagerness of learning things would be the best attribute, as I think. That is not only in IT industry, I mean it will be same for management and other fields as well.
If
Yeah,
you were to advise a person, okay, learn this language now, because the thing with IT people is we are always learning languages. We are like, okay, I'm learning Python for data science, and then you realize JavaScript can also do data science, and you're like, I learn JavaScript. So when it comes to, if you are to give like a concrete answer for a person saying, okay, look here, if you want to, get ahead of the curve, learn this language. What would that be? Because since you are in WSO2, which is an open source software company which works on eBay and stuff, what would your recommendation be? Okay, go out there and start learning this. What would that be? Because I really want to have like a specific answer, because you have a lot of people coming and saying, okay, learn this, learn that, learn A, B, C, D. But if you were to advise a person, what would that be?
but Shamal, that is a question I can't answer
Exactly.
honestly.
I know it's very hard, but
Because it is like this, because okay, we can say Java because it is mostly widely used, but Java is like, now it is like there are Go
exactly.
used by Google. Yeah, if it comes to machine learning area, there's Python now. So if it comes to front end related single page application, there's React based. So if we come to mobile application, there's Flutter and React Native, those kind of things. So it's a broad range. First, I think you need to specifically understand what area you should work in. So then you can select specific language or thing, so language or framework, and expertise it. That is good. But underneath, what I want to highlight is, if you catch up one language exceptionally and if you catch up basics, then catching up another language or framework will be something easy.
Easy. Yeah.
That means if you have the concepts and if you can commit towards that learning thing, you can catch up with. So that is how this goes, as far as I understand in this industry. That I'm in the industry for 3 years. That is how things happen, because this is very rapidly changing. Otherwise, you can't survive learning all this. How can you do? You have like 24 hours a day, right?
It's so
So
much
that
stuff.
is,
Like even if you like go for Udemy courses and stuff, if you pay for them,
yeah,
like we
yeah.
don't, but if you pay for them
Mm,
and do, like, it's, there's so much knowledge out there, like you can't do it, right? So you
yeah,
feel overwhelmed. I think most people who like maybe drop IT in the sense of, I don't want to do IT, I'll do this or do that, get that feeling because it's almost like I can't do all of this within this short time frame, right? So as you
yeah,
said, yes, you need to get the fundamentals down, your algorithms, data structures, database
yeah,
management systems, those kinds of fundamental knowledge is crucial.
yeah.
Uh, building upon that, how can undergraduate sharpen their skills right now? So let's say a person wants to pursue a IT. Okay, say I want to do IT. How can I sharpen my skills to that point so I'll be able to maybe catch up a language or catch up technology quickly in the future?
Some addition to that, previous point. The thing is, like, there are companies, in the sense, like, when people are interviewing you, there are some set of people, they specifically follow your technologies, like they search people for technology, their knowledge based things. And there are set of companies, like the company I'm working at the moment, WSO2, they seek people with good basics. So when I went for the interviews, they mainly questioned about problem solving, data structures and
Okay.
algorithms. They asked about Java, but if I said I have never learned Java, I have only learned C++, the interviewer will ask questions from me from C++ basics.
Okay.
So there are, most of the times I have seen this in when you face Google interviews, because I know some of my friends have already faced Google interviews. They give you problem solving, to give you problems to solve. That's what they check, because that, in person, if you are coming to a hardcore technological area, I think you should have that capability of grabbing basics and solving problems, other than just being a developer. So if you be a developer, and developer means that forever you will be a developer. You won't you won't go to that architecture decision making level. So
Okay.
that is that. And yeah, you ask about what are the actions you can take to improve the knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, what Bilalaya mentioned is also very correct, because in our degree we like get half from different modules. So if you go into in depth, it is good if you can follow some courses kind of things, or if you are coming with a good financial background, it's okay if you can balance, you can do double degrees as well. But when it comes to my context, I didn't do that. But of course, I engaged in so many kind of internships, and I did Coursera online machine learning courses like that. And there's this competition. Usually, we have a competition like coding competitions, and also there's a Google Summer of Code internship program. Have you ever heard it?
Yes, yes. So for all of you listening, when Randyaka says I haven't done stuff, she's being very modest. Okay. She was a participant of Google Summer of Code, and she was also privileged enough to go on, I think, an internship on Huawei to China.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yes, we have heard of Google Summer of Code.
Yeah, that is also a very good opportunity, because Google is offering this for like per year, like for 2000 undergraduates. And when you can apply and you can put your project ideas. Once you get selected, you can do your project and they will pay you. And additionally, in addition to that, they will give you opportunity, one lifetime opportunity. You can only once you can apply to Google, and they will call you for interviews. So definitely it will be very hard to get selected from interviews, but you will definitely call for interviews. That opportunity was also there. So likewise, there are plenty of opportunities. So in my area, like what I did was I excelled in academic from these modules what I did in the university. And the hands-on experience part I got from these doing these projects and other internships, or might be coding challenges, those like things. So that's what I did.
But your advice is yes, you need to follow up your models and get your basically your fundamentals down. At the
Yeah,
same
and if you
time, you need
can,
to.
yeah, you need to sharpen yourself. And if you can manage an external degree or something, that is okay. But if you can't balance it and have good grades in both kind of courses and the degree, it's pointless to do like this, because sometimes with the workload we can't complete it successfully.
Yeah, so that's very true. And we feel that very much right now. Even though the COVID situation is there, you feel the workload. So,
Yeah.
Shama, just to add
yes,
something to what Terandi
just go
said,
ahead.
especially when it comes to IT. So for IT, for that matter, like you don't have to. I mean, even the degree that you're doing now, you don't have to have that. Also, that degree is like a paper qualification. Like what Erandi touched upon. If you have the eagerness, there's a lot of free courses online that you can do and which are recognized. Even Google is now coming up with like courses that which are recognized. I mean,
Yeah.
I am a part of this organization called SLASCOM, if you have heard. So they have introduced something called the Future Careers Bridge. This is especially for school leavers who can't afford a degree or who have missed out on a degree, where all of these SLASCOM affiliated companies have come together and put down a course, like a degree course, where these participants can go through, and selected participants will be absorbed directly into these companies as internships. So
Okay.
these, like, there are a lot of opportunities if you really search for it, right? It boils down to what Erandi touched upon. It's eagerness to learn. If you have that, especially in IT, there's enough and more courses which are free online that you can follow and sharpen your skills.
Now you are a business analyst, right? So it's kind of this almost gray area where you're like, okay, so you're a business analyst, so you know business and you know the finance, marketing, the HR, those kinds of fundamental management perspectives, and you also have a technical like technical background, technical inclination, right? So my question is, um, when it comes to your career, business analyst, what should an undergraduate right now focus on?
So just to tell a bit of what my role entails is, Shamal, I really didn't start as, I mean, so if you, I mean, I don't know whether this exposition still has this tagline in it. I mean, when we were doing it, the tagline was the magazine that bridges management and IT. I think
Yeah,
my role
it's
is,
still there.
yeah, so my role is such a role where I bridge the management and the IT people So that's kind of a role a business analyst plays. But I really didn't start off as a business analyst in an IT company because I had this very bad mindset when I joined the university, because I was fixated, okay, I am going to be a finance person, because when I entered university, I had already completed my ACC, that is in finance, because we were that lucky batch where we stayed 1.5 years at home because of this EZ-score issue, right? So at that time, I completed my ACC and I came into the university thinking, okay, I'm going to be a finance person. I just want this degree for the sake of having a degree. I had this very bad mindset. But while doing the degree, I mean, you like it or not, you have to do the IT stuff, right? I mean, you are forced to do it because you have to get grades. So I did not saying, because I had a fixed mind, I did not give up on IT. I continued to learn those. But my passion, my interest, I had thought, okay, I have my career path sorted. I wanted to go into the finance field. So I started off as a finance BA at MAS Holding. So that is basically to do a lot with finance, to do reporting, financial analysis, all those stuff. But while doing that, I figured out, okay, I learned a lot of IT, which is it was interesting, and I'm missing out that part here. Like the closest tech I was getting there is like Excel and Word, right? Which is not that interesting. So I tend to do macros there, whatever the closest I get to coding, I kind of did there. And then while I was there, I got this opportunity at MIT, which like perfectly fitted both my aspirations, because being an IT company, what they focus, their main product are products for the stock exchanges. So stock exchanges, finance, which is like my interest lies on. So I kind of fitted there perfectly, and a business analyst in such a company should have to have in-depth knowledge about finance and stock markets. Also have to have this IT knowledge, where otherwise, you will be fooled around. You don't know what developers are talking about. And when you have how a business analyst works, when you have something to be changed, you will not know without asking someone whether you can or not. So you have to have that IT knowledge also to understand whether this business requirement can be changed into a technical thing and can be implemented. So you have to have that knowledge. But to answer your question directly, saying to be a business analyst, what should you learn now? There's no right or wrong answer somehow, because like I said, because my company, we are developing products for stock exchanges, I should know finance. I need not to know marketing. Our marketing guys know marketing. I need not to know marketing, or I don't have to know HR. But if you are in a company where you don't really apply whatever you learn directly when you work, right? So let's say you are a finance person, you should know how finance works, what finance is. But if you know a bit, and when you go to the company, and let's say you do SEMA now, thinking you want to go into finance, but when you go to a company, you join a company where they do ERP systems, and you are a business analyst in the HR module. You don't know much about HR. You have learned a bit in your degree, you have learned a bit in your SEMA, but you don't know much about HR. But these areas are such that you can easily catch up, because these are not science, right? These are arts, like finance, marketing. They are arts. They are not like, they were not there in the world where someone went and discovered. These are like created by people. So it's very easy to learn. Exactly. It's very easy for you to read up and learn. And when you work in the work environment, you don't have to know the technical terms also. When you study, you have to memorize your pestels and all those stuff, right? But when you work, you don't go and do a pestle analysis, political, economical. You don't do that, right? You don't have to know that especially. So knowing how HR in a company works good enough. So doing SEMA, having focus to go into finance or management accounting. But even if you get an HR business analyst role, you can manage with that. So I can't put my finger on top of something and say you have to learn these things to be a business analyst, because what specific area the company is specializing in is what will they want. But what I can say that you can sharpen at this point in time is, this applies to anyone, but especially for a management person, your soft skill in terms of your communication skills, in terms of your negotiation skills. That is really, really important, because your degrees, your SEMAs, whatever you do will get you to the interview.
That point
showing that you know stuff, and show them, okay, even if I don't have that knowledge in my degree, I can catch up. So that is very important. So improve your soft skills is what I would say. Like if you want to go into a broader perspective, like a business analyst, like you can fit into any company in that matter, I would
Yeah,
say.
so that's a great point touched upon. And what I want to know more specifically is, okay, so your advice is, if you are a management person or a student, yes, you should know all of these fundamental topics, but your main skill should be your ability to transform, let's say, a business requirement into a technical requirement, right? So that's the main thing a BA does.
It depends from company to company, Shama. So in terms of my company, so we work with business people in stock exchanges. So they might not understand the tech. So they use our software and they might have business requirements. When X happens, so just to give a brief understanding, like how stock markets work is, if you have watched the movie Wolf of Wall Street,
Yeah.
right? So if you and that's actually how stock markets work like 20, 30 years ago. Yeah, if you want to sell a stock, if you know what a stock is, a person will run around the stock market saying, I want to sell, like a market take away, people will run around. That's called public outcry, right? Now that does not happen.
It's
All that
automated, right?
happens. Sorry?
It's automated, right? Now it's like all bots and stuff.
Correct. It's all automated and it's all in systems. So for me to get, so what is the business requirement is, someone wants to sell, I need, and this person now sells, he runs around the stock markets screaming, I want to sell. How can I stop him screaming around the flow, and how can I get it into a system?
I
Is
see.
the business requirement. I understand that requirement, and I should know, okay, I should have some sort of an understanding, okay, this can be automated, this can be put into a system based on the frameworks that my company works with. Then I go and say, okay, hey, look, I go and tell the developers who know best better, hey, look, this is the requirement, and I tell them in such a way that they understand. I don't go and tell them there's this guy running around the floor saying selling. I tell in such a way that they understand. It's basically like, I act as the client for the business, the business people outside, and also for the developers, I act as the customer. They develop and say, is this correct? Then I figure out, okay, this is what my client wants, and I kind of figure out. That is in my company context. But business analysts in different companies are used in different terms. For an example, like I said, I started off as a finance business analyst at MAS. They also call that business analyst, but that does not have anything to do with uh, IT or the
Converting this stuff.
requirements gathering. It's basically about financial analysis. So the terms might differ, but in terms of what I currently do, that is the context.
How important is your GPA when it comes to choosing your specialization in the third year? So let's say the first 2 years you have both IT and management subjects, yes? And let's say your GPA on IT subjects is a bit low, but you want to do IT. As a person who did IT, Randyati, should you pursue this, or should you be like, okay, my GPA for IT is low, so I'll do management? Because this is a question most of our undergraduates have. So how would you go about answering this? I'll first come to you and then go back to Bilaya.
If you're having enough GPA to select IT field, if your GPA is bit low, that means you have better grades in management, right?
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
don't think it is something you should consider,
Okay, great.
because 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 the thing is, if you in at some point it showcasts something, because you get good grades means that might be because you are good in that concepts and you are good in, you have hands-on experience, and that might be a case. But there are, when it comes to sometimes boys kind of people, they don't like, they don't study by hard things and they don't get good grades. But if you have enough GPA to select your
Is
paths.
that are we being criticized? I feel attacked.
No, I mean that is I often listen. I often see. So yeah, if you have enough GPA to continue, and if you have passion, that at very first point also I raised this. If you have that eagerness and passion, so you should go in that path, because it doesn't matter if you have how much of good grades. One day you will. The real situation is, one day you have to sit in front of a machine and work for like 10 hours a day. You only communicate with this machine, so your whole world becomes this machine if you are a hardcore technical person. So if you don't enjoy like problem solving or running applications or things like that, so I don't think you can't survive in long run. So So that's something you should consider. So you should always follow your passion and you should work towards it. But like you have 3 more years, so you should definitely try to get a high GPA because that matters. That is a GPA is something that you can showcase a good first impression when you are in an interview. So it definitely matters. But at this point, I don't think it matters.
So when it comes to IT, your GPA is important, right? When you're going for an internship or a job, it is important.
Yeah, it is like this. Like it is important as long as you get the job. Like you know when
Okay.
we when we put CVs, sometimes those CVs are shortlisted by HR people. Like so at that point they at first sight they look at your GPA. And sometimes when interviewers, because when we enter to the industry as fresh graduates, we don't have much experience, years and years of experience in our curriculum chart. So that at that point when you have good GPA, people think like this person can work towards something for 4 years, right? This person has eagerness to learn. So that's why they consider about GPA and then they take you to the job. But when you get the job, then you get the actual work. So at that point, without having hands-on experience and things like that, you can't survive. So
Exactly.
of course you should have it, but to as an entering point, you should have a good GPA. And if you are planning for higher study, definitely you should have.
Okay. Okay. So for higher studies, and if you want to get your foot in the door, basically an interview, a GPA is very important. And I believe that you got your first job at WSO2, yes?
Yeah,
Yeah. So obviously your GPA was questioned at that point. Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah. So
was.
yeah. So GPA is very important. And then coming back to Bilala, yeah. So how important is your GPA if you're a management person? For example, let's say you have good grades in IT and you have moderately okay grades in management subjects, right? So should you switch or should you pursue your passion? What do you think?
Hmm. I kind of, rather than sticking to management, I'll try to cover like holistically both. I have kind of a different opinion on that.
Okay.
So what I feel is, see, first what you should realize, like Randi like correctly said, you should realize what you want to do. It's about your passion, guys. It's not about what your degree asks you to do. See, for me personally, I mean, 10 years back, people who started doing A levels, I mean, now only there's a lot of technical streams in schools, but 10 years back, if you take anyone for that matter who is doing science, 90% of them, I would say, did not study A levels saying, I want to become a software engineer or I want to become a business analyst. Majority, I said, I want to become a doctor. Someone else would have said, I want to become an engineer, right?
Yeah.
So that is the bitter truth, right? Fortunately or unfortunately, we could not get there and we went in a different path. So how it differs is, guys, like, see, when you are in school, you know, okay, what you get if you do O levels. O levels at a pass, you don't have to choose your path. Your path is A levels, right? During A levels, there's a decision to make based on, do I want to become a doctor? Do I want to become an engineer? Do I want to become a lawyer? Or do I want to do a management degree at Japura? Those four are like the decision making points, right? And then if you want to become a doctor, you do bio, and your path is very clear. And if you become a doctor also, then the next path is also very clear in your university, where you have a MBBS line and you know at the end of the day what you will become. But if you fall short of that when you enter a degree, any other degree, the problem is we are shown multiple paths and we have to by ourselves figure out what path we want to go to, right? We don't know whether, majority of us don't come with prior IT knowledge or prior management knowledge to the degree. Especially, I know in my case, I would say some majority of people, they sometimes preferred IT because they thought, okay, if it's a management degree, I need a lot of good communication. Communication is a must. My communication is poor, so I rather be a technical person. There's this myth thinking, if you are an IT person, it's communicate karana. There are like wrong misconceptions. Based on that, they choose the path. So in our degree, we are shown paths and we have to choose the path not based on our GPAs, guys. We have to choose the path based on, at the end of the day, right, like Yarandi said, what you are going to do. I mean, IT person correctly mentioned, she said, you have to sit in front of a PC for 10 long hours and keep doing work. I mean, you might think, okay, mama, PC TV series balna, movies balna, I like to do IT. That's not the case, right? When you're watching TV series, movies, or a match 10 hours straight, and to do things that, I mean, sometimes you might like the problem, sometimes you might don't like the problem. Your boss keeps calling you, so you have to, I mean, picture yourself doing that. If you like doing that, yes, that is for you. Even for finance. So in terms of management, what the problem people have is they don't know what these terms mean. For an example, finance, most of them think, hara accountants. Finance is
No,
not only
exactly.
accountants,
Yeah.
right? Finance has a broad scale, financial management, tax payments, and these are some of them are like highly paid careers as well. Even marketing people think are salespeople. We don't know what they exactly do. So marketing is also a broader spectrum. And each of these management are broader spectrum. We should exactly know what the person is doing in as a career. වැඩට ගියා මොකක්ද කරන්නේ කියන knowledge එක we have to try to understand. How you can get it is you can talk to people who are already there and you can get that knowledge. Based on that, I mean, I'm not saying once you figure that out, that will be like the exact guess and that will be the exact path for you. You have an understanding, මම මේ වගේ වැඩක් තමයි කරන්න කැමති. Then you figure that out and try to go in that path. When you figure that out, eventually in those subjects, you tend to do good,
Okay.
right? You will tend to do good, then your GPA doesn't matter. But I didn't do a special degree. Not that my GPA was low, my GPA was high. But I didn't do special degree because I wanted to go to the industry soon, right? I'm sure in terms of selecting your paths, regardless of whether you like it or not, GPA is a matter. To summarize the answer, I would say, Shamal, even like I would say, like in my opinion, just to summarize your answer for an IT person, even if your GPA is low, I mean, if you are like really horrible at IT, IT tamai karanne kiyala, doing that is pointless. But if you have a passion and if you have some sort of like maybe your management is high and GPA is somewhat low, try to pursue. But like Erandi said, yes, this is a factor that will affect your interviews. But then how you can, I mean, the gone GPA you can't cover up, right? You can't recover that, it's gone. But how you can cover up is like what Erandi said, there's a lot of things that you can do, like Google summer of code, put things that will make you stand out. Then your GPA is it's not what matters. When you have a lot of other stuff done, like not many people would do, then you will have, then a GPA cut, but this person has done real hands-on stuff. So I wouldn't discourage someone not to give up on their passion based on their GPA. But if you have lost a chance because your GPA is gone, you can't catch up, do a lot of other stuff to get up there and have that curiosity and the eagerness to go behind your passion. So in short, don't choose your path based on your GPA, I would say. Figure that out as what you want to do.